The Red Centre, one of the iconic places in Australia, also known as the Great Outback, has some of the most breathtaking views in the country. For that very reason, my wife and I decided to take a trip there to celebrate me turning 32. As with every great adventure, there were its highs and its lows. We just got a flat tire.
Yep, and you've got a spare so we can just change it for you?
Hold on, do you have a spare?
I'm not sure it's a car rental. We saw some of the most dramatic landscapes we've ever seen, and we met many cute wildlife along the way. Join us on this journey as we explore one of the harshest environments in Australia, the desert. Hey guys, what's up? My name is Bernard and welcome to the channel. So if you watched the intro, you know that we are in a beautiful Northern Territory and we are here in the month of June. June is a great time to visit the Northern Territory because it is the winter season and the weather stays cool and comfortable for practically the whole day, which makes exploring possible. In summer, it gets unbearably hot in the afternoons. To kickstart this trip, we started heading west from Alice Springs on a road trip to explore the West McDonald Range. Our first stop of the day was Simpsons Gap. I'm not gonna lie, on the drive in and from the car park, this place looks very unassuming. However, I'm glad we gave it a chance and checked it out anyway. Just a short walk from the car park, we were greeted by this beautiful waterhole. The place was very peaceful and I really enjoyed being here. The walk in was amazing as well, with the trees and the sandy terrain being visually very different from what we would usually see in New South Wales. We were also fortunate enough to see a black-footed rock wallaby when we were there. He was a really cute fella. Our next stop was Stanley Chasm, and it was a short 30 minutes drive from Simpsons Gap. The walk to the chasm and the chasm itself is very nice, but it was quite crowded and that took away some of its appeal to me. There were some other walks at the location itself, and it seems like not many others were doing it, which means we would probably have the place to ourselves, but we had other places to check out and a limited time, so we decided to give it a miss. Our third stop of the day was Ellery Creek Big Hole. I felt pretty neutral about this spot. It had decent views and it wasn't too crowded, although there were some people around. It was a short and easy walk to the waterhole, and there were plenty of wildlife for you to chill and observe. But it was tough to do that because the weather was getting warmer and the flies were out in full force to bother us. We left in a short while and made our way to our next stop. I must say, the drive on this trip is what is taking my breath away. The mountainous views of the West McDonald Range stretches for miles on end and it's a beautiful sight to behold. I rarely feel that way about drives, but it is indeed the highlight of today. It made me want to stop for drone shots all the time. That brings us to our fourth stop, Neil Hargrave Lookout. As its name suggests, it is a vantage point that gives you panoramic views of the West McDonald Range. It is along the main road to our next destination, so it was a no-brainer to stop and enjoy the views, and I would highly recommend that you do it too. Our last and final stop of the day is Ormiston Gorge. This is where we'll be spending the night as well. Disclaimer, this campsite is not one of the better ones, so I can't recommend it to you. There were no views and the facilities provided were really basic and not well maintained. After setting up camp, we still had some daylight left, so we went to check out the gorge. The views here were really nice and it would have been awesome if we were allowed to camp here. They probably have their reasons, and it is what it is. We decided to finish the day with a small hike. There was a popular circuit walk called the Ghost Gum Walk, but we just did the shorter Ghost Gum Lookout Walk as the sun was setting soon. Overall, my favourite things about today was Simpsons Gap, the drive, and this walk. It was a good way to end the day. The following morning, we had a long drive ahead of us because the plan was to get to Uluru and that was 6 hours away, so we decided to set off at sunrise. This was when disaster struck.
And we currently have a flat tire.
sorry, I can't quite hear you there. It's just breaking up. I'm sorry.
Sorry, the reception is quite poor. We are having a flat tire.
Okay, so we are en route to Uluru from West McDonnell, and we are currently faced with a situation. We just experienced a flat tire on the way back or on the journey. Thankfully, we are just about 10 minutes away from Alice Spring, so there is some sort of reception. If we were any further away, that would have been a big problem because we would not be able to make a call to roadside assistance. At the moment, the reception is kind of spotty.
Kata Tjuta hasn't come up. C for Charlie, V for Victor.
Sorry, the reception is pretty poor. Could you repeat that?
So yeah, fingers crossed we can get help. But at the very least, you know, we got a flat tire at a very beautiful location. So, you know, silver lining. Okay, so we just got an update that it will be approximately an hour's wait for help to get to us. So yeah, the only thing we can do now is to wait. So while waiting, I think I'm just going to remove the items from the back of the boot to check whether there's a spare. And if there is, you know, maybe we could give it a go since roadside assistance is going to take 1 hour and I don't really feel like waiting. Okay, so we do have a spare and we do have some tools. So let's give it a go, I guess. So the only other time I ever changed a tire was many years ago, and that was just that one time. So honestly, I'm not 100% confident, but you gotta do what you gotta do.
If we manage to change, then
We'll contact them. So I'm trying to change the tires. She's enjoying breakfast. I think like that. After seeing me make some progress, Paula wanted in on the action as well. I won't lie, it felt good that we were able to be self-sufficient and didn't have to wait helplessly and rely on others. So we successfully managed to change the tire, and that was before they arrived. So now we're gonna drive back to Alice Spring and get this all sorted out. So this is definitely a useful life skill to have. Thank goodness I did it before. Just to give you a quick update on the flat tire situation. So the rental company told us to bring it to the mechanic, and the bad news is the mechanic won't be able to fix it for the next 2 hours. So that's the problem because our plans in Uluru is affected. So we had a tour booked and now we can't reach that in time. And today is one of the only nights that we booked a decent accommodation. Hopefully we can get to it in time. If not, that will be one night wasted at somewhere decent because the rest of the nights will be at campsites. So yeah, I'll give you another update soon. While waiting for the car to be fixed, we checked out one of the attractions in Alice Spring, which was Anzac Hill. We did not have many options as there weren't many places or things to do in this small town. The panoramic views of the town from this lookout point was quite decent. To cut a long story short, after a few frustrating hours of going from mechanic to get help because the first one was too busy, we were back on the road. The drive from Alice Springs to Uluru was a long one, but the views along the way were pretty epic. Just a disclaimer, all the drone shots that you will see in this video of Uluru and Kata Tjuta are taken out of the national park. Drones are not allowed in the national park and I did not break any rules. So after a long drive, we have finally arrived at our accommodation and we have some good news to end off the day. So when we arrived at the reception, the guy told us that he'll be giving us a free upgrade. So yeah, that's just, a good way to end the day after all the bad luck that happened. Let's go check out the rooms now. So this is the room that they gave us. Wow, red carpet. 2 double beds. Wow, luxury. After a long and eventful day, we got ourselves some rest to explore Uluru tomorrow. The next day, we woke up early to catch the sunrise. Something you might want to note is that the national park has opening and closing hours, so there isn't really much point to go there extra early. By the time we reached the lookout point, first light was already in the sky, but we still did get a pretty good sunrise. We took a quick walk around the lookout point and started heading to where the main trail was. At Uluru, you could choose to walk around the whole thing, but we just did the Mala walk. Personally, I found it to be an okay walk, and although it was quite cool to see the huge monolith up close, I felt that it was better viewed from a distance. So it's currently 9:30 and the flies are starting to come out. As you can see them flying all around me. This is when it gets really annoying. So if you want to explore the area, I suggest you do so early in the morning when it's cold and the flies, they don't come out yet. After the walk, we went back to the town to check into our campground. I must say that this campsite is quite nice. Although there isn't much of a view, this campsite is well maintained with nice facilities. After setting up our tent, we explored the town of Uluru. We were pleasantly surprised with how clean and how well maintained everything was. It was even nicer than Alice Springs in my opinion. To wrap up the day, we went to Uluru Lookout, which is within the town, to catch the sunset. The next day, we were on another sunrise mission, and this time, we caught it from Kata Tjuta Sunrise Lookout. The rock formations here are really nice as well, and although not as well known as Uluru, it was equally beautiful. After the sunrise, we went on our hike for the day. This time, we were doing the Valley of the Winds walk. Trust me when I say that this walk is amazing. With a short and easy walk, you will reach Karu, the first lookout. This viewpoint is amazing and it was so easy to get to. From here, you have the option to go to the second lookout or do the whole circuit walk. This is when you will start seeing all the warning signs asking you to take precaution. I cannot emphasize this enough. I highly recommend that you do this walk. Even if you don't do the whole circuit, at least walk to the second lookout. By the time you're there, trust me, you'll be tempted to do the full thing. That was what happened to us. We originally planned to only walk till the second lookout, but decided to do the full thing anyways. When you're in the valley, you would understand how it got its name. You could hear the wind howling and it was really amazing. I must apologize for some of the Insta360 footage you are about to see in this video. I had the wrong stage settings on and it causes this black ugly line you see across the frame. I'm a new 360 camera user, thus the rookie mistake. The 360 camera doesn't have the best image quality, but I wanted to show you how vast the landscape was, and I didn't have a wide angle lens on me. We were so tiny next to the rock formations. We were walking through these large boulders along the trail and I was really fascinated by them. It wasn't long before we reached the second lookout and I'm sure now you can see why we were convinced to do the full circuit. For the second half of the walk, we were out of the valley so the views were more panoramic. I like both parts fairly equally, so I do recommend that you do both if you have the time. If I had to pick between the Uluru walk and this one wins hands down. No question about it. The walk took between 2 to 3 hours and after that, we were done for the day and I went to bed early because I had special plans that night. At 3 AM in the morning, I decided to try my luck at some astrophotography. As the national park is closed during this time, I went back to Uluru Lookout. I had decent results, but this is not the best spot because there is some light pollution and the occasional vehicle that comes along. The next day, we were supposed to go to Kings Canyon to do the rim walk, but as luck would have it, we had another puncture. This time, fortunately, it was just a small leak, so it wasn't a flat tire entirely. But the bad news is that there was no one available to fix it as it was a public holiday, which means we had to drive more than 400 kilometers with a leaking tire. We decided not to risk it by making an extra stop at Kings Canyon because we already had enough drama for this trip, so we slowly made our way back to Alice Springs. On our last day in the Northern Territory, we decided to do something really touristy. We went to the Alice Springs Desert Park. I have been disappointed by many of the tourist parks in Australia so far as I can't help but compare to the ones in Singapore. However, I was very surprised at how nice this one was. For starters, They have free tours and talks sharing with you the knowledge of the local people regarding the animals and the land. There was also a bird show that was not too shabby as well. It was a small one, but it was fun nevertheless. We actually managed to spend about 6 hours here, which was more than I thought I would. There were quite a few aviaries as well, and they were filled with the local species. It was really enjoyable being in them. Overall, I would still rather explore the West McDonald Range, Uluru, and Kata Tjuta, but if you have the extra day, I would definitely recommend that you check this place out. To conclude, this trip to the Northern Territory was a memorable one, but if there was something I would do better, it would be to rent a SUV instead of a compact car, as it would probably suit the terrain better, and I would set aside a bigger budget for expenses, as things do get quite expensive here in the outback. I hope you enjoyed coming along on this journey with us, and stay tuned for the next one. That's pretty much it for this video. It's a wrap.